Hello ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies, and in-betweeners. My name is Dan. Welcome back to another PAP Reports. Today is Wednesday the 4th of March 2020. And today we're starting with Detective Constable Jane Walker from Sussex Police. DC Walker was the lead officer in the investigation into an alleged drugs ring operation operating in Brighton and London who were supplying drugs for sex parties known as chemsex. The investigation subsequently led to 2 trials, but the first collapsed after it was revealed that 32 discs of security footage from banks had not been viewed, logged, disclosed or served in evidence by DC Walker. The second trial failed to go ahead at all as the Crown Prosecution Service said there was no longer a realistic prospect of conviction. It's normally evidence that doesn't help the police that goes missing, rather than the evidence that does. The first trial collapsed last May after it emerged in an email conversation between Walker and a civilian police colleague, Tanya Smith, that the discs had not been viewed, reviewed, scheduled or disclosed. Walker was not suspended for a failure, but is said to have been taken off active duty while being investigated for gross misconduct and potential criminal charges. Judge Shani Barnes said, "I am confronted by an officer in the case admitting in writing that there were discs in a box with surveillance unseen, unscheduled, undisclosed. The attitude she expressed in writing, and I repeat, I am to get no further evidence on oath or other explanation, reveals a cavalier, dismissive attitude to her duties as a responsible disclosure officer. She was, on the face of the emails, disinterested in fulfilling her obligation to ensure that all material was viewed, scheduled and, where appropriate, provided to the defence. Her rather casual view that there was unlikely to be anything of evidential value is unprofessional, but not unheard of. The officer deliberately left these discs off any schedule. She was busy, she indicates on another case, but instead of viewing them just prior to the trial or asking a junior officer to do so, she chose to ask a civilian colleague to conceal the fact of their existence, despite knowing that Miss Smith ordered the collection of these discs from various banks. This is, on the face of this document, a serious act of misconduct, in my view, without further explanation. Those who are investigated and prosecuted for serious crime must be able to know that those investigations are conducted by persons of the highest integrity. Juries listening to evidence must be able to trust officers on oath. The case has been brought into question because of the actions of that officer. The defence asked me not to allow another adjournment and to say that this is an abuse of the process. The prosecution say this is not a case of bad faith. The prosecution urged me that there is a strong public interest to continue, even though they acknowledge that she failed in her duty and that her conduct is in question. It is my judgment that this case has been tainted by the conduct of the officer and in the case, and on the evidence provided, it remains an affront to this court's sense of justice and propriety that it should be allowed to continue as proposed by the prosecution. If the officer in a case can reveal so little judgment and propriety in her position of responsibility, it would undermine the integrity of the criminal justice system if I allowed it to go unchecked." A spokeswoman for Sussex Police said, "We can confirm that this matter was referred to the IOPC for investigation. In the circumstances, we are not in position to comment further at this time." A spokeswoman for the CPS said, in relation to the case of Paul Herendance, "We offered no evidence in the case as there was no longer a realistic prospect of conviction." The other case was stayed for abuse of process. Both cases came to an end for different reasons. We have no further comment to make on either case. South Yorkshire Police, in my own personal opinion one of the worst forces, have revealed changes as to how police who make genuine mistakes are to be dealt with, in what can only be described as another attempt to protect the misdeeds and wrongdoings of those who are tasked to protect us, but all too often fail to do just that. New legislation has come into force which apparently aims to shake up the current system. The Home Office even say that it is an attempt to move from a blame to a more learning culture by allowing police to learn from their mistakes. Steve Kent, South Yorkshire Police Federation chairman, said, It's about lessons learned. Officers who are corrupt deserve everything that comes to them, but rarely get it, do they, Stevie? And I think 99.9% of police officers would agree to that. But officers who make genuine mistakes need to be supported, and that needs to be seen. I actually think in South Yorkshire we tend to get that right in our professional standards and the attitude of the senior command team. So it's positive news. It's going to take a while to bed in, and it is going to take a little bit of learning for people to get our heads around what the new regulations are going to be. But they are going to make a big difference and also cut out bureaucracy and, within policing, cut down the timescales, which we know are such a big thing. So what Steve is basically saying here, in my opinion, and of course I'm paraphrasing, is that South Yorkshire police are delusional and that they will do their best to persuade people who have complaints that their officers made a boo-boo and simply shouldn't be punished. Cutting out bureaucracy simply means no real oversight of those who are breaking the rules, and should be punished. Don't get me wrong. There are some instances where I have felt and made it clear in my videos that the subject of proceedings hasn't exactly committed crime of the century. But would we be let off so easily if we said, sorry, Your Honour, I made a mistake in causing that person fear and alarm, because of my actions? Or would we still more likely be charged and convicted and end up with a record for our misdeeds? Yes, I think in most cases we would. Even in many of the frivolous cases that are brought against the public in an attempt to up the numbers for statistics or make the police officer feel better about himself. Steve went on to say that if officers make a mistake, they need to let their supervisors know and let their managers know as soon as possible, and that doesn't change. What it does change is that the new regulations will protect the common sense ways we look at things. Police and common sense, two things that rarely go in the same sentence. So if officers do make a mistake, as long as they don't hide it, they don't try to cover it up, they should expect, quite rightly, to be supported by the force and their managers. Honesty is key. Okay, well, I would say what's good for the goose, but I'm under no illusion that if we were to do the same and hand ourselves in, say we're sorry and admit we did wrong, that we would still have the full force of the law brought down upon us. It's extremely worrying how those tasked to uphold the law are being more and more protected from it. Now, before I start getting the comments from the copsuckers and bootlickers, I do understand that there are times when genuine mistakes are made. I mean, forgetting to pick up a piece of evidence from the desk before leaving for the court hearing, or calling someone by their wrong pronoun. They're mistakes. But if we take a look back at all the cases that I've reported on since the PAP report started, there are very few that would be insignificant enough to warrant a simple sorry, won't do it again, I've learned my lesson. And I'm worried that this will be used to cover up more and more serious acts of stupidity by the police, especially after Steve said, and also cut out bureaucracy, which ultimately means that decisions will be made by elected representatives rather than officials. Jonathan Plummer, aka the Vile Degrader, a police community support officer from West Yorkshire Police, was in Leeds Crown Court last week for 7 offences relating to the possession and distribution of indecent images of children and possessing extreme pornographic images. This is a report I spoke about in a previous video. Well, I've called the court today because it seems that the jury was discharged last week by Judge Mustok Cocker on the 4th day of the hearing. However, nobody seems to know why. The court press office told me that the decision was made in the chambers rather than in the courtroom itself, and so the reasoning behind the discharge of the jury is not available to anyone other than the judge and the legal team for the CPS. I find myself wondering why Judge Mustok Cocker couldn't give a reason in court why he would discharge the jury and set a new trial date rather than doing it in secret. However, Plummer of Langdale Avenue, Outward, pleads not guilty to 1 count of distributing indecent images of a child, 3 counts of making indecent photographs of a child, 1 count of possessing prohibited images of a child, and 1 count of possession of extreme pornography. The new trial date is set for April the 21st. For your information, the definition of discharging the jury is as follows. Discharge of jury is the dismissal of jury in charge with the trial of a case. When a jury is sworn and charged, the general rule is that they cannot be discharged by court or any other, but ought to give a verdict. A jury will be discharged under necessity and under extraordinary circumstances, such as at the request or with the consent of the prisoner and for his benefit when ill practices have been used. When the prisoner becomes insane or becomes suddenly ill so that he cannot defend himself or instruct others in their defence. When a juror or witness is taken suddenly ill. When a juror has absented himself or herself, or on account of his intoxication is incapable of performing duties as a juror. Now, make of that as what you will, but it seems none of these reasons are reason enough for a judge to make the decision in secret. Thank you to subscriber D for notifying me of the following. Northern Ireland's Police Ombudsman is investigating the conduct of an off-duty PSNI Constable who appeared to restrain a teenage boy after a snowball was thrown at his vehicle. Now, I managed to find a video of this incident, which I will play in a moment. The incident, which happened in Limavady, County Londonderry, on the 27th of February, shows the PSNI Constable confronting the 14-year-old in a shop in the town. The family solicitor says the 14-year-old was taken to hospital and treated for physical injuries after his school contacted his parents. They also said the school authorities themselves initiated a complaint to the PSNI after he presented to class. The footage shows a struggle and an exchange of words between the boy and the off-duty constable. The constable can be heard trying to explain what he is doing and asking the boy if he understands. Near the end of the video, the boy is moved into what appears to be a storeroom and the door is closed. A police ombudsman's spokeswoman said, "We are investigating an altercation involving a police officer and a schoolboy. Our investigators have begun the process of gathering evidence to assess the appropriateness of the officer's actions during the incident." The Police Service of Northern Ireland said it had received a report that a teenager was assaulted at around 10:20 on 27th of February. It was reported that snowballs had been thrown in the area and that one had struck a passing vehicle. The boy's parents told BBC Radio Foyle they were disturbed and angry and have asked for the footage to be removed from social media. It's very sad that he was treated so poorly, they said. This officer should have noticed very quickly that he was in distress. Now, personally, I think that the parents wanting to have the footage removed from social media is a bad idea. This is the only way that the public get to see what's really happening in these interactions. I feel that the parents of the boy are probably more concerned about the way that the boy spoke to the police constable rather than the incident itself. I mean, maybe they're embarrassed, but they shouldn't be. The boy stood up for himself in a situation that was potentially a complete overreaction from the PSNI constable, and that the more people that see these raw, unedited footage clips, the better.
Right. Hey, what? I need to go to fucking school. I don't need anything fucking explained, like.
I will be arresting you, alright?
Huh?
I will be arresting you. On attempt to criminal damage. Yeah, police cell and interview you. That's the way you want to go about it.
I need to go to school.
Right. That's regardless of whether you need to go to school. That's what will be done. Do you understand? That's what will be done.
Exactly, that's them what I'm fucking mean, like.
And then
You know what I mean?
It's a snowball and it's attempted criminal damage.
It's a snowball.
It's attempted criminal damage.
It's a snowball. It's a snowball, like.
Okay?
It's not even everything else that's happening.
Then that's what you do. Okay? You're not going anywhere till you're detained. Do you understand? Listen, lad. You only have to provide your details and you can go.
I already give you my fucking name. Get out of my fucking sight, sir. I'm not going to do this. I will burn your house to fucking door. See if you don't
You will burn my house.
No more. I will. Get out of my fucking sight. I don't give a fuck if it's a threat.
Okay. If you want to provide your details now, we can do it in slow time.
Sir, it's a fucking snowball, sir. Wise up.
Exactly. That's
No,
the
alright.
That has nothing to do with
Leave him alone. He's a ween. Get your fucking hands off. He's a ween, sir. Take your hands off. Get your fucking hands off.
Listen, lad, I've already explained to you.
I don't
Take your hands off, sir. Get your greasy fucking hands.
Police
Police officer, this means West Throne.
Cars.
I've detained him here and I've given an ID. You know my, I'll show my ID. There's a car coming, but he's trying to find
I'm
it.
going to fucking hit you, sir.
Right, boys,
Fucking
move on.
sight. Get out of my fucking house!
Listen, lad, I've already explained to you. You're detained here, right? Do you understand?
I don't give a fuck.
He's not allowed to
Listen, you want to get yourself more trouble than you are having?
Fucking wanker. So you are.
you away somebody.
You heard me.
Why?
Because I'm apparently banned from
Come on,
saying,
on you go, boys. On you go to school.
Would you give me a favour? My car's inside. Would you go out and switch it off and bring the keys on the car? Where is it? Alright. Right. Go in the back office with me. Let's go. Start smart first. Come on.
On you go.
Sir, what are you fucking doing?
To get yourself in more trouble, do you understand?
get off me.
You're getting yourself into more trouble. You've already... Okay, do listen, if you're under arrest. Do you understand? You're under arrest for resisting police and criminal damage. Okay? Do you understand?
Get the fuck off me.
What part of that do you not understand?
I understand everything. I'm not a fucking thick bastard like you
You're under
are.
arrest. Okay?
I'm not.
You're resisting police. I've just told you you're under arrest and you're resisting police.
I need to go to fucking
I showed
school.
you my ID, right?
I don't give a fuck about your ID.
Cooperated this by giving your details and we spoke later today, but you weren't happy to do that.
Aye, well, you could have like.
Okay. Okay, come on here and sit down. Right.
No.
Sit
No.
down.
What the fuck he's doing?
Sit down.
No.
Listen, you're under arrest, do you understand? You're under arrest.
Thank you to Jamie now, who sent me a heads up to the following via WhatsApp. West Midlands Police Sergeant Shaukut Zaman has been charged by the force following claims he sexually assaulted a woman while off duty and has appeared in Birmingham Magistrates Court today. 39-year-old Zaman, who has worked for West Midlands Police for 17 years, worked as a custody sergeant in Perry Bar, but was suspended in April 2019 whilst investigations were carried out. He has been charged with one count of sexual assault and another of assault by penetration. He remains suspended from the force and I will call the court tomorrow to find out the outcome. Although I suspect, as it's the Magistrates Court, it's simply going to be a plea hearing before heading off to Crown Court. A big thank you to the first Patreon supporters, Motty Lads and Holly, whose support is helping me to continue to provide you this daily content. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials. Good night, all. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.